Now, in the meantime, while we were actually, May, you and I were playing some games backstage. Show us your vocal warm-ups, nice and loud.
Oh my God, I did not think that you would make me do this here.
Of course I was going to put you on the spot because this is the fun of it.
So this is part of improv. It's to help us relax and, just be okay with us being awkward. So this noise that we have to make, like, yeehaw.
Go, keep going.
That's it. Yeehaw.
Oh, so it's called the vocal warm-up exercise for whenever you want to talk to anyone important, and it is based on a TED talk. And if you only have 1 second and you need to warm up your voice before doing a webinar or anything important, you go hee-haw, hee-haw, hee. Okay, it works. Okay, let's get the show on the road. So we are here for it's called Conscious Dating and How to Keep the Spark Alive. And dating scene right now is hard, mate. Everything feels like it is a task. People are saying it's overwhelming. It is draining their energy, having to swipe on so many things. And what we're going to do in this webinar is to show you how to simplify that. We're going to explore the behavioral science, but we're also going to play a couple of games as well. And whilst we're doing that, we're going to let people in as we go. Hardy has just joined. And we're going to show you 11 voice messages that you can use to signal interest and spark chemistry. So if you want to get your pen and pad out, this is a really good time to do that. We'll also send you the recording so you have that, and a couple of body language and eye contact techniques that you can use to just really create the chemistry, because we find that people, whilst online dating is great, transitioning that to in real life is where there's sticky awkwardness, and we want to be like social lubricant. So this is what we're here for. And May, I want to introduce us by saying how we met. I saw your Instagram that you were building a dating app that was launching only in Sydney. And so I hit you up and I said, hey, you're building dating app. I feel like we have similar values in the sense that we prioritize connection, and you really going back to that the human touch of not relying so much on algorithms. And so I hit you up and then we were like, is this a match? And then it turned into a business date. Is that how you would classify it?
Yeah, except that there was an instant chemistry, which doesn't really happen often in actual dating. So yeah.
Yeah. So tell us, so firstly, we're going to be it's not going to be death by PowerPoint. We're just going to be going through some tips that are going to help you. And I introduced myself? No, I'm Susan. I teach improv. So I teach lessons on how people can connect through body language, and especially how our tone and our voice can really signal who we are when you're dating. May, I see her as like the Australian Logan Urey, because you have all the science and the data. You come from a market research background, and you're developing an app called Reev, which is launching soon, and it is voice first dating. So yeah, I'm going to let you take it away.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to see some familiar faces here. So thank you so much for coming along. So I wanted to share a little bit of backstory of how Reev was born. So it was COVID and I was single, watching Netflix at home, like a lot of people have gone through. And then I came across this show called Love is Blind. That's a show where a lot of single people are talking to one another through a wall. So the whole time they don't see the face until they propose to one another and decide to get married. Now, when I was watching it, I was thinking, oh my God, I want to participate in that show, except that I didn't want to be on TV and it was only in the US, so I couldn't, but I had that in my head. And fast forward a few years later, I decided to make that as a dating app. And luckily, I didn't have to wait for Reev to come to life to find my husband. I'm now happily married with my little daughter. But I did definitely struggle with my dating life myself. And I was also a market researcher like Susan introduced, and I always was interested in dating and human behavior, like what makes us do certain things, feel certain things, and care about certain things. And dating particularly was always the most interesting part because that's where people are really happy and hopeful and sometimes vulnerable. So I wanted to share my slides for some visual aids from here, unless anybody has any questions.
Yeah. If you have any questions, team, during the entire course, feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll either get to them at the end, or we'll try and answer them as we go. So, yep, we see your slide.
Okay, great. Hang on. Okay. So these days, when I look at dating, it feels like single people are split into two groups. Dating mode is switched on or off. And even if you're single, if you're focused on study, career, or just tired of dating, this switch is off. And I'm guessing most of you here today has this switch on.
All curious. They're here for a friend. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm here for a friend.
Yeah, we're open to anything. But it used to be different before. We didn't have this switch. We didn't really do dating as a separate activity. It just happened. So we used to fall for strangers we bumped into on the way to work, or someone at school, or a colleague, or even our boss at work. We weren't actively dating. It just happened as we had the life on. And then dating apps happen. Most dating apps promise more options, less effort, easy swipes. And with my market research background, I started noticing something. This dating app design affects men and women very differently. And over time, this technology is actually pulling us apart. And before I continue, I wanted to be very clear. I'll be talking about the dating landscape tonight in a very broad heterosexual context. Any question?
No, sounds good.
Okay. So let's start with what swiping looks like for men. Nice. Wow. Sure. Yeah. It's pretty light and easy outside. And the main question for men is she attractive enough? Yes or no? And the bar isn't really that high. Questions like, do I want a long-term relationship with her, usually come in later. I know that most of us here are men. If you have a different opinion, you can always jump in and say, no, I'm different, it's different. I'm generalizing, of course, here. And now, oops, one more woman. Now, if we switch to a woman's side, no, he's cute, but no, not quite. Wow, okay, but he must be so popular. No. So this is what women do. And I know that I'm exaggerating, but again, that's the general pattern. It looks like women are so superficial and so picky on men's looks. But what's really happening here is he attractive? Is he a creep? Is he emotionally stable? Is he financially capable? Is he going to be the one for me? So women ask all these questions a lot sooner than men do. And they are not swiping left because these men are ugly and that's a deal breaker. They're swiping left because they're trying to answer all of those questions in their head with just a few photos, which means a lot of men would not pass. And yes, there is the lack of initial attraction, we can say, but that used to be compensated with some other contexts like eye contact or body language and men's confidence. And those are really hard to read through apps. And that's why women's standards look really impossible and men feel invisible. Women feel exhausted. And we call that dating app fatigue. Any question?
Sounds good.
Yeah. So
Makes sense.
I wanted to tell you my own personal story of my dating app experience. So I'm in my mid-30s, which means that I dated before dating apps. And then I also basically grew up with dating apps. And I started with Tinder back when it was almost the only dating app. And at first, it was really good because there were so many options I never had before. And as I was swiping, I didn't even realize that I was becoming super picky. go through 1,000 profiles and swipe right on maybe 10 to 20 only. And that would usually lead to like 10 matches. I know this sounds wow, but that would usually also lead to one actual date. And most of the time, I'd be disappointed on a date. Either I would get the ick or they just didn't want anything serious with me. So as soon as I met somebody who didn't give me that ick and wanted something serious, I was like, okay, why not? I'm too tired. I don't want to swipe again. Maybe this is gonna go somewhere. And that relationship did last for a couple years, but it eventually ended because I settled out of fatigue. And then I tried Bumble. And as women had to make first move by messaging first to their matches. So I now wasn't just choosing who to swipe on. I was also choosing who was worth messaging. So that's like double picking. And when I did message, because they went through so many filters already, I would put so much effort into the message with some thoughtful questions. And funnily, I would usually not hear back from my matches after I made the first move. And my theory is that too much effort from women wasn't that attractive to men. I know that, again, every individual is different, but that was my general experience. And then I tried Hinge. And I really wanted to be intentional here. I told myself that I'd be less picky on men's looks and I would give less attractive some chance if they made some interesting comments, because that's what Hinge does. And I did really try to engage, tried really hard with those men, and I realized I couldn't help. I would eventually ghost those men because I was too busy talking to other cuter guys. And I was thinking, why am I doing this on every app when I knew that I wanted to be intentional? I knew I was capable of falling for somebody that wasn't like Chris Hemsworth. And I realized it wasn't me. It was the apps. The design was making me that way. So I told myself, okay, no more dating apps. I'm going off dating apps. I'm going to meet someone organically. But I don't know how long it took me to go back to dating apps. I think maybe a few months. I just had no choice but go back to dating apps because the reality is everybody, almost everybody who was looking, were only looking inside the apps. People were not really approaching other people in real life, face to face, because we're now all afraid of face to face rejection. So I was stuck. Okay. So here my experience is very women specific. I know that the most of the audience here are men, but it is related to men's experience, of course. One of the core reasons why dating apps feel so hard for women is that women are asked to decide way too early without enough context that I've been just talking about. So those first encounters that we used to have outside dating apps, they weren't just about looks. We might think that, oh, it's just we get to see them like in their face. But we had a lot more than that, like eye contact, or how we were also hearing how someone spoke, and we also felt their confidence, humor, and effort. Those things we could see through that first encounter. And on apps, we lose a lot of that context. So everything we used to feel became just photos or some text on a screen. So women are getting pickier based on photos. And of course, as a result, men don't get much signal, like no matches, no swipe rights from women. So men are also getting confused and lost. What's happening? Is it me or is it the apps? Same question. So I want to do something a little fun here. Do we have any ladies here?
Yeah, Ruth is here. Hi, Ruth. Feel free to turn on your camera. We've got Morgana,
Okay.
and someone called C, which could be either or. So anyway, let's do this. And do you want me to? I've launched the poll.
Oh, okay. We're not doing
Okay.
the poll just
We're not doing the
yet.
poll yet. Okay.
So what I'm gonna do here is to play this audio, like a voice intro, and then I'll reveal a photo. We'll only do this poll once you see the photo. Okay, so let's play this voice intro.
Hey, I'm Alex. Life's too short not to have fun. I'll make you laugh mostly at me, and I'll probably talk you into doing something ridiculous, but you won't regret it.
I'm assuming everybody heard
Yes, we had
Okay,
that. Yeah, you're right.
perfect.
Wait, yeah, Alex.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then that was him.
Should we vote now?
Yeah, let's
Okay,
vote.
so relaunch
Yeah.
poll, continue. So, would you date Alex based on that voice recording and also his appearance? We've got some results in, and maybe guys, you can take part if you feel like, from a woman's point of view, would you date him? Okay, we've got some side swingers here. All right, 3. I can't see the poll.
I can see the poll.
I can see the poll. Yeah, it might be on your other screen,
Yeah.
Dana. So check that.
Oh.
I think we've got enough responses. Let's end and share the results. We've got a few other polls. So can you see the results?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 60% said yes. And I don't know if they're all mostly coming from men or mostly women.
The sample size is too small anyway.
Yeah. But 60%, that's pretty high, I would say. And I actually ran this as a study with 300 Australians. Yes. And I divided these people into 2 groups. One group, so only the photo without the voice intro, like how most other dating apps do. And the other group below, I heard the voice intro first and then saw the photo after, just like you did. And what percentage of women do you think said they would swipe right on this guy if they only saw the photo? Any guesses?
I'm going to guess, let's say 25%.
Oh, you're cheating because you know the answer.
Don't tell anyone I'm cheating.
I can't really see the chat, so I don't know if there's any answer. But the answer is...
I gave it away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
6%. So only 6% of women would swipe right on this guy when they saw the photo, which is pretty average, like a stat. What is this?
I just ended the poll. That's sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You're all good. You can still... You're on.
Yeah. Okay, maybe this is about the second poll, so maybe we ignore it for now. So yeah, it was 6%, and usually on dating apps, women are very picky on men, so 6% is pretty aligned. But what do you think is that percentage when they heard the voice intro? Here in this room, it was 60%, which is pretty high.
Type it in the chat, team. What do you think is the percentage? We'll just wait. Just take a wild guess. Okay, so Nile saying 35, Jonathan's saying 45, Damien saying 30%, Magana saying 30%, C saying 25, and Aisha saying 40. Ruth is saying 25. What is the answer?
Okay, everything is so high. You might be disappointed. It's 17%. It's pretty low, but still it tripled. And I just want to make it clear that it was just a 10 seconds voice intro. So that's usually one way and it's very limited. But if that voice intro was longer and it was more interactive, this could be 40% and 50%, whatever you did estimate. All right, we do the next one. I know we have more men here. So this is for men, straight men. Let's play the voice.
Hi, I'm Sophia. I'm curious, a little cheeky, and I never shy away from good banter. I love when a guy can challenge me and still make me laugh. Do you think you can?
Okay, everybody heard that? Okay. And this is the photo. And let's do the poll.
The poll? Okay.
Yeah.
Relaunch poll. Okay, so team, vote if you would swipe right or swipe left on her based on the picture that you've seen and also the voice message. We've got, okay, so Magana is saying swipe left. So add a vote there.
I thought this was confidential vote.
Oh, no, she's put in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, otherwise I can't see. That's why. It's all hypothetical anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't see the poll. Not enough info. There's Vincent. There might be on a separate screen. I don't know if that helps. But yeah, okay, so we've got 100% of people have voted. Oh, okay. It says 8 out of 8. I don't know why that's 100%. Anyways, can you...
I shared the results. I don't know if
you can see the results?
Yeah, it's 63% yes. So it's pretty high. So in my study, that number was maybe 16%. So based on the photo, it was pretty low among men when they saw this photo. And then when they heard the voice intro again first, that's say to 16%. So when women heard men's voice intro first and saw the photo, that number did triple. But when men heard the voice first and saw the photo, it didn't really make that change that was happening with women. So what do you think is really happening here?
Put in the chat what is happening when there's such a stark difference between men and women and how we swipe right or left.
Women are attracted to men's voices.
What do you?
So here, I know that it could look like, oh, men only care about photos and men don't really care about the voice. But I realized that men use voice very differently. And when we say voice, it's not about the voice. It's about how this person is introducing themselves, how they're pacing. So it's a lot of different things, like the confidence that you can hear from the voice. And men use it very differently from women. And we can see that from the next profile. This is, again, another woman. There will be no vote, so let's just listen to the voice intro.
Oh my god, hi, I'm Jen. Honestly, I love going to cute cafes, posting the perfect photos, and people who don't make life complicated.
So that was the voice intro, and this was her. And when, same study, the percentage of swipe right dropped from 53% to 35% when they heard the voice intro. So it didn't really increase in the number of swipe based on the voice note. It would rather decrease. The likelihood would decrease. And that's because these men are using this to spot deal breakers instead of using it to amplify the attraction. So women and men are using it very differently. And 10 seconds of voice is not magically creating chemistry, of course, but it is really opening up women's hearts and helping men avoid wasting time. So now that we understand what happens with apps because they get things wrong and why connection is so hard to build these days, how can we actually create connections once we have somebody? So this is where Susan comes in.
Yes. And I want to say Jonathan's made an important point. He said men have confirmation bias. The assumption in the photo is carried onto the voice. What are your thoughts on that?
Which is why the sequence is important. If you hear the voice first, then your visual distraction is not there yet. So you form some kind of impression first. And then the photo comes in after. But if you do see the photo first and hear the voice, this is what exactly happens as you assumed.
I want to touch on some interesting research by Laurie Gottlieb, who wrote the book Marry Him. So one of the things that she's one of the most world-renowned therapists, and it's interesting. It's information that we don't want to hear, that there is actually a case that settling for Mr. Good Enough is what's going to help us if we want to have a relationship. Most women are too picky. And the reason for that is because of the biology. We're going to have to look after the children, whereas men, traditionally, they can have multiple children with different wives, whereas we actually have to have there is that labor intensity to it. So the research that she shows is actually based on behavioural economists, psychologists, sociologists, anthropologists, neurobiologists, you name it, that's there. So don't shoot the messenger. There is a case for settling for Mr. Good Enough, and there is a magic number for this. It is the magic number of people that you should date in order to, before you start to decide, do I want to settle down with that person? Now, does anyone want to have a guess as to what that number is? Put that in the chat box. So let's say, for example, there's 10 people that you date. At what number should you decide I'm going to date the next best person after him or her? Put that in the chat box. Okay, 15, yeah, 6. Obviously, Damien says 6. So the actual number is, Jonathan's 50. Great, you must be very busy, Jonathan, with all your events. That's how you meet so many people. Yeah, so the number is 37%. So let's say you have 100 people that you're dating. Number 37, what the research is that you should reject not all the first 37, and then every single person above number 37 is the person that you should decide, do you want to settle with if they are better than them. So let's boil it down to 10. Every person who is better than person number 4 is the person that you should consider having a serious relationship with. If person number 4 is not as great as the others, move on to person number 5. There is obviously a caveat to this, which is if you feel like there are lots of people who are married to someone that they met in high school, right? So I would say you don't have to discount people just because you don't feel an instant chemistry. This is just a framework that you can use, which can help you decide, should you settle or should you keep looking, and where is the benchmark? Someone has put their hand up. Me. Okay, we don't need to ignore that. Next. Okay, so there's the 3 phases for dating, and that is the pre-date, during the date, and also after the date. So we're going to look at each of these 3 and how you can optimize your results in each of those phases. So firstly, when they did a research study in 2005 based on at the Chicago in the personality and social psychology, and they studied whenever people send a text message or an email, how often does the message get lost in the intention? For example, let's try this. So whenever you're sending a text message or an email and you want to, maybe there is you want to be sarcastic or you want to convey something genuine, at what point do you think what percentage do you think people will understand the message? May, what do you reckon? And everyone else, put your out of 100%, what percentage do you think people will actually understand your true intention? Put it in the chat box.
20%?
The 20%? Okay. Yep. Anyone else? Put in chat box what percentage do you think people will understand you when you send a message? So it depends on texting skill. Magana says 30%. Damien says 25%. We've got things coming in 30%. Yeah, people are coming in at 20 to 30%. So the actual people think that when they convey a message that someone else will understand it 90% of the time. It's because our ego, and we understand it in our head. We don't understand why people have telepathy and can't read our minds. So they assume that others are going to understand it 90% of the time. So May, if I send you a message and I'm like sarcastic, and I assume you're going to understand my sarcasm 90% of the time, the actual response is 55%. So that's like half. So that's why tonality is so important. And I don't do sarcasm, that would be 0%. And hey, maybe if you want to also make some Insta stories whilst we're doing this, tag us. May is on Reev and I'm Improv Life Lessons. And May, you might want to do some as well. So that's the importance of why tone is so important, especially in dating apps like Reev, because they're going to understand the clarity of what it is you're trying to convey, and you're going to get closer to them. The text messages this is how limiting they are. So these are some voice messages that you can say to really elicit that spark and create that chemistry, but either before or if you want to take the date to the next level. I'm going to preface this by saying that not all of these are going to work for you. They are just a general guide. Some of these will be like icky for you. The point is, think about the concept of them and how they're to help you create social lubricant. We've got the I see you message, which is I keep thinking about that thing you said about how you're following your passion and you're starting your own company. I really like that. It's really bold. So it's like an acknowledgement. There is a soft curiosity message, which is I have a feeling there's a story behind that smile and I want to see and hear more of it. There is a micro flirt. I'm starting to suspect we might be trouble, the good kind. Now, you can see that if you send this as a message of text, there is obviously chemistry, but if you add voice to that, like on an app like Reev, it elevates that message even more. There is and by the way, if you can take screenshots of this, and we're going to send you the PowerPoint presentation afterwards as well. There is, I like your energy. It's rare and confident, and I feel really calm when I'm with you. There is the memory callback, which is I remember that thing that you said. I remember that you like sunset swims, and I drove past the beach and I thought of you. Number 6, the challenge frame. Okay, serious question. Are you always this interesting, or am I just getting the highlight reel? So there's a bit of a tease there. Number 7, I feel like we're either going to get along ridiculously well or we're going to cause minor public chaos, and I'm willing to find out. So there's tension in that message. The appreciation drop, which is I just want to say how intentional you are. It's really attractive to me. Number 9, the vulnerability signal is I don't usually send this many voice notes early, but I feel like you're really easy to talk to. Number 10, I'm enjoying this and I'm getting good vibes from you. And number 11 is a little bit subtle, which is, well, maybe not so subtle, but let's continue this conversation over coffee. Jonathan's saying they're way better than pickup lines. Yeah, because it's so much better than saying something like, oh, an angel fell out of the heaven or the sky, you must be them. That's amazing. Like, I'm sure, like, actually type in some of the worst pickup lines that you've either said or you've received. Type them in because we want to see them. Some of them, like, are really cringe. These messages are there to help you say that if you do like someone, show it, because you need to convey that intent, because otherwise people don't know. So use this as a framework to be intentional with how you feel about someone. It's going to help you take the relationship to that next level. Okay, let's move on. Okay, and of course, the other question is people, especially on the first date, people are like, somehow, even if you're not awkward, you become awkward. It's like somehow you forget how to walk and like you're eating and it's like drooling all over your face. And it's all of these basic things. You suddenly forgot how to be a normal functioning human being on a first date. And a lot of it is because we try so hard. We try really hard. We feel like we have to perform, and then our nervous system is like completely wired, and we feel like we have to be this other perfect person. And I'm saying, just know that it's going to be awkward. Like, instead of avoiding the awkwardness, know that you probably will be awkward, and that will take the pressure off. So when you're initiating the date on Reev, you can actually say, hey, look, let's just catch up. Let's just catch up like we're friends and see if we like and just want to get to know each other. You immediately take the pressure off of having this thing to be a magical, sparking thing. It's like, let's just see if we're going to get along. That's my intention, because if you're like catching up with a friend, you're more likely to just have that fun version of yourself come alive. I haven't read this book, by the way. I found it when I was searching for this. So I just bought it. And if you want to find out what it's like, we can read it together. But the point is, it's okay to be awkward, and being awkward is different to feeling awkward, because one is an event and the other one is an association to how you feel. So I want to give you an example. They did a research called the Pratfall Effect. This is a famous study done in the 1966. And so what happened was they got participants to listen to a quiz recording of a trivia show. So there were 4 categories that they were doing. So people were highly competent, which means they got 92% of the quiz questions correct, of like normal trivia. Then anyone who was average competence, which I think is low, but they only got 30% of the questions correct. And what they did was they told a quarter of these people to spill the coffee whilst they were in the interview. So like they'd be answering these quiz questions, like on that show, is it How to Be a Millionaire or something? They'd answer these questions and they'd be like, oh no, I just spilled, it would be like this glass shattering. And I'd be like, oh no, I just spilled my cup all over my new suit. And you would hear them say that. And what they've actually found was like, May, what do you, okay, actually type in the chat, what do you think happened? The people who spilled the coffee, were they more likable? Were they less likable? Type in the chat what you think based on the research. If let's say one of us like spilled our coffee right now, what would people think of us? Okay, so Morgana is saying they're more likable, and so is Nalay. Yeah, and you're right. And there is a caveat. So if people are competent and they may make a mistake, they're more likable. But if they're an average person, which the people scored 30%, they will be less likable. So competence and vulnerability, there is a connection there. And I would say it's more linked to like authenticity and vulnerability on a dating scale, which means if you're able to clearly articulate how you feel and you're someone who spills the coffee, then people are like, oh, I actually like this person. They're real. They're human. They actually make mistakes like me. Like they're actually someone I can relate to. Because when you're on a date or an interview, at the back of your mind, people are thinking, what's wrong with this person? Like, why are they still single? Like, why are they here for a job? What's not working out at their current job? Why are they not on the market? People are thinking that about you regardless. So if you spill the coffee, then you actually are able to say, look, I'm human, I'm real. And then you can actually start to open up, and you can open up more emotionally and also intellectually. And the conversation actually feels easier because you also get to find out, how do people respond if you spill the coffee? Are you someone who is going to be like, oh my God, no, this is a disaster? Or are you going to be rude to the waiter and be like, clean this up immediately? So you get to actually see how people respond in those moments of micro stress. And Damien says, good tip, literally spill your drink. Yeah. And maybe if it's hot, like maybe be careful about that, Damien. So just a caveat. May says, you're too perfect, then I think you're AI. Yeah, exactly. Like sometimes we feel like this is what vulnerability is, what makes us human, especially in this age of AI. This is our flaws are our superpower. And also, how did you react to others spill their coffee is often tell on the personality. Exactly. Yeah. So do they help you cleaning up the mess? Do they actually help you laugh it off? It's a really good sign to see what kind of partner that is potentially you're going to have. Hi, Mosen. Good to have you join us. And on Jonathan's point, Paul Brunson talks about it's not about the partner you choose is hugely based, the success of the rate of the partner you choose hugely is based on how well you argue. Because if you argue well, how you move past difficult situations is a sign of how long the relationship will last. It's the first few phases is easy because you'll have butterflies, it's that initial attraction, but the length of the relationship depends on how well you argue. So Moen is saying, I hope everyone finds dates here. Okay, we'll get to the end and we'll show you how. I'm going to rush through this because we can take it, or maybe we can do it in the next webinar. So when you're on the date, which is phase 2, there's 7 body language signals that's going to help you really create that chemistry and spark. So a lot of this is based on research by Vanessa Van Edwards. And again, I'm going to ask you to type in the chat box. And there is a body part that the more you lengthen it, the longer it is, the more attractive it is. And it's both for men and women. And you can contract and lengthen it on demand. So type in the chat box what you think that body part is. Again, it's for both men. It's something you can easily contract and expand for both men and women. And yeah, people are saying a smile, absolutely. Eye contact, your spine. Yeah, Jonathan is actually the closest one, but obviously smiling and eye contact, both really important because we're going to get to that soon. Your height, yes, so smile. And people are saying, what else? Yeah, right. It's actually the distance between the bottom of your ear to your shoulder. The longer that is, the more confident you are. Because if I'm like at a webinar and I'm like, hi, everybody, welcome to this webinar with May and me. I hope you're having a great time. Height or lengthening of the mind, so obviously lengthened. So the reason for that is because that shoulders back signals immediate confidence. If you see someone walk in and they just got this like straight spine and they've got their shoulders back, that just signals openness. So it's interesting. They did a study where, and this is again from Vanessa Van Edwards, people walked in, like there were people in a room and they said, rate these people on who are you most likely to approach? And they found out the most attractive people wasn't like a race or a hairstyle or a height or even what they were wearing. Guess what they found out the most attractive thing is how available people are. So if you have your shoulders back and you're smiling and you've got eye contact, just like everyone is saying, you're really attractive. Because the reason why is no one wants to be rejected. Like openness signals, hey, come talk to me. And if you're signaling, hey, come talk to me, your rates of being rejected are going to be lower and you're going to be more likely to approach that person. So approachability is really sexy because people don't like being rejected. And that actually surprised them because they thought maybe the person who's most likely to get selected was like someone who looks like a model. But no, attractiveness is the most sexy quality. Okay, so here's another example. If you're at a bar, this is like a typical bar in, let's say, Surrey Hills, and you're going to a networking event, where would be the best place to stand if you were open to signaling availability and openly chatting to people? Put that in the chat box. Where would be the best place to sit or stand? May, what do you reckon?
at the bar just sitting alone. I'm lonely.
And just like looking confident. Yeah. So Morgana is saying the bar at the side of the room. Yeah. So what happens is when you're even like a networking setting, the worst place to stand is actually near the doorway, because if you're looking for someone to talk to, someone may have just, let's say you've walked in, you're taking in the room, you are trying to sense where things are, especially if it's your first time. And if you immediately approach the first person who walks in from the room, they're going to be like frazzled. Okay, I haven't even settled. My nerves are not calm yet. I haven't even settled down. I need some time to chill. So the best place to stand is actually right off the back of when someone's had a drink. Because if they've had a drink in their hand, they're relaxed. They know that they've settled in. And then the first person who approaches them is, oh, thank God, I have someone to talk to. So you want to be like the first cab off the rank once someone's had a drink. That is the best place to stand if you're looking for someone to connect with. Let's move on. Okay. And the other thing is mirroring. So we do this subtly when we like people, because we have these mirror receptors in our brain. Mirroring helps us to create that social bond and connection. And so if you're getting really intentional about it, you can just do some subtle mirroring. It's as if to show, I see you and I want to be close to you. And this works again on a subconscious level. Okay. They looked at the people who are like on the cover of Men's Sexiest magazine. So this applies to men. So guys, if you've got a dating profile or photo on one of the dating apps, what do you reckon is really sexy about Chris Hemsworth? I'm going to give you a hint, and also everyone put it in the chat box. What's really sexy about the way that he looks? It's like above. Let's just go for above the head.
I use Chris Hemsworth in my examples a lot because that's everybody's favorite, but I don't really find him attractive.
You don't? Oh my God, what is wrong with you? Okay. So with this, right? It's that like lower, okay, yeah, his eyes. That's right. Oh, I can't pronounce your name. I'm sorry. On Daemania. Okay, my apologies. Yeah, it's his eyes. It's that lower third lid flex. Which, yeah, it says, I don't give a damn look. So it's called the lower lid flex, because it's like you're squinting, but also you're focusing in on someone. Because when someone zooms in on you as you're talking, you're like, oh, wow, they're really into me. Like they want to double click on everything that I say. I have their full attention. Especially these days in a world where we're so distracted with phones and notifications, just someone looking at us and saying, I'm really interested in how you look and focus in on you is so attractive. So if you're thinking about which image should I post on my dating app, hopefully it's not the one where you look like you're wide-eyed and like starry. Go for that lower lid flex. That's going to help you immediately raise your attractive level. Next. Okay. The other thing that is interesting is showing affirmation whenever people are speaking. So it's this thing called a slow triple nod. It's So when you do a slow triple nod, someone else speaks 3 to 4 times longer. So you're just encouraging them to keep talking and to keep connecting. If it's really fast, it's like, yep, keep going. Like when the meeting's really boring, like, yep, but speed it up. You don't want to do that. It's like a slow, intentful triple nod. And that actually just, again, it's a really easy way to signal, hey, I'm interested in you and I want you to keep talking and I want to hold space for you. The other one is, again, light touch. So light touch can be enhanced whenever you're like touching them and saying, oh, I'm so sorry about that, or tell me more, or that must not have been easy for you. When you combine that physical touch with something that is really sincere that you say to them, it enhances that social connection, which is oxytocin. So these small things, whilst a lot of people do it instinctively, but if you know how to do it consciously, it's going to help amplify those sparks. Okay, so we're getting to the end here, and that is eye contact. So here's the thing about eye contact. This is from Dr. Tara Swartz. If you want to create the oxytocin bond, when we were babies, our mothers would hold us, and you use your right eye to look into their right eye. So it's a little bit like diagonal, because it's what happens when our mothers would hold us as babies. That amplifies oxytocin. But if you actually want to dominate them, you look into their left eye. Now, when I say dominant, if there's a waiter who's really rude to you, or if there's your boss says something to you that you don't agree with and you feel like you are being pushed over, both your eyes look into their left eye. It's the way that our left and right brains, hemisphere of our brains work. It's a really subtle thing. And when you do that, like for example, if you need to pacify someone, you can say, I'm not tolerating that. And both your eyes can look into their left eye. That is a tip from Janine Driver, who works with, she studies body language, and I think she does hostage negotiations, but it's a really great way to subtly signal someone, I'm in charge. So you either want to, depending on which eye you look into, can actually also make a huge difference into the emotion that they feel. Now, the third one is the gray, as I call this, the gray anatomy is triangle look. And you probably, like, when you watch back on soap operas and you watch back on Grey's Anatomy, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I see it now. And that's what creating chemistry. So especially if you want to lean in and you want to lean in for a kiss and you're like, don't know how to do it. You look at their left eye and then you look at the right and then you look at their lips and you like linger for a bit and then you go back. And so it's like this triangle. If you watch Grey's Anatomy, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it's also great if you want to create chemistry with someone who's already a partner, because it creates this really like subtle, desirable effect. So I call that the Grey's Anatomy triangle. Okay, we're near the end of this conversation, and I want to say that obviously we often get deal breakers confused with the ick. And deal breakers are things like just like they were rude, or they're just not holding space for you and they're just not talking over you. That is a red flag deal breaker. But often we can get confused with the ick, which is something that it makes us feel uncomfortable and we feel like, oh, this person is not for me, when it's actually we're treating this person as really transactional. So I'm going to read some icks from this book. They're really quick. So for example, an ick is, oh, he was loving but not romantic enough. He bought me flowers but they're really cheesy. He wasn't exciting. He had long nose hairs and they grossed me out. For God's sake, you can buy him a nose hair trimmer, right? He cried. It felt like he was too weak for me. He was too predictable. I was embarrassed by his voice. I have a low voice and sometimes when people would call me, they would think that I'm him. He's too optimistic. He's too pessimistic. He was completely bald except for the 3 hairs standing on top of his head. He's too funny. He makes up strange words. And he's a doctor. He loved me. Get this one. He loved me too much. That was an ick. He wasn't refined enough. He didn't know what a Casablanca is. And I just wasn't feeling it. The interesting thing is, of these stories, when these women told these icks in their 20s, and then when they were in their close to 40s, they were actually saying, I wish I had picked that guy. I wish I had picked the guy who was bald with the nose hairs, because you know what? At least he cared about me. At least he would tell me where he was going. At least he was transparent. At least he was really supportive. So we have these like transactional standards for people, when really we are swiping on people and missing out on genuine connection. And the research says that when they looked at people's long-term, they did hundreds of studies across a few decades, and the story that they tell about the relationships changes. So if there was a couple that was divorced, they would say, yeah, I knew right from our first date that it wasn't going to work out. There were all these red flags. But actually, when you look at their journal or scientific entries, it just said, yeah, it was okay. It was a great date. Or, yeah, nice guy. I think I would see him again. And then the opposite was also true. If the couple were still together, they were likely to say, when I first met them, it was sparks and chemistry and we just couldn't get our hands off of each other. But the actual scientific post would say, yeah, it was interesting, like looking forward to exploring more. So the stories that we have about people changes based as a result of the experience. And it's important to understand the difference between a deal breaker and something that is an ick.
Should I jump in here?
Yeah.
So
you're cute.
I, as somebody who actually had lots of icks while I was dating, I have a lot of opinions about the icks and my understanding of why these icks are happening and how we should navigate through these things. But then I'm also conscious of the time. So maybe we could cover that in the next webinar. So I'm hoping that we'll see you again in our next webinar. But Susan is going to talk about like the questions that we can ask after the day. And before we do that, I wanted to talk about Reev briefly. So for those who joined the webinar a bit late, I am May, founder of Reev, and Reev is a dating app. You may have guessed it, voice first. It's not voice only, it's voice first. And Reev embodies all of these dating understandings that I've been talking about today. This is how it starts. Reev start with a short 5-minute blind date on the very left, and there's no swiping. You're making that, it's an immediate chat without having to swipe, without having to message to make the first dates. You just have the first date on app immediately. And there's an icebreaker, as you can see, that can give you what to talk about because there's very little thing that you know about the other person. And then after that short date, the app is asking both users, do you want to continue connecting with this person? And if it's a mutual yes, it organizes the next date. And this is actually a process across a couple days. It could be done within one day, depending on users' availability, but it could be done through like a few days. And you continue chatting, still blind, voice only. And once you hit certain milestone, and right now it's about an hour of deep conversation, and then you unlock the milestone of video chat. So while you have that voice chat, that's where we're trying to have that context before visual distractions happen. You do assess that emotional connection. And then when you feel like, oh, I can talk to this person, I enjoy having this person as a company, we have similar values, I think we can explore something more, then you unlock the video chat to explore that physical chemistry. Because unlike Love is Blind, where you have to get married to see the other person, I do believe that the physical attraction is very important even before you commit to the very first physical date.
Yeah, you don't have to marry someone on this app, guys. It's just FYI.
Yes. And after you see the person on video, then you decide, oh, do I like this person physically? And if it's still a mutual yes, it moves on to the physical date. It asks you, pick a date, pick the venue. So it forces the users to actually get on a physical date. And it's still not over. You have that first date in person. And there's a lot more than just a video chat. There's all the things that we talked about, the eye contact, the body language, the spilling the coffee. You do all of those things. And then you decide, did I actually enjoy this person in person? And then when you make that decision later on, then that's the final match. And the app will share your contact details with the other user. So then that's when you can explore that connection beyond the app. And if you don't match, let's say somebody, maybe you decide to disconnect with this person, stop connecting with this person, or vice versa, there's also a feedback or like a breakup note, as you can see on the very right hand. The app is asking, why do you think the date didn't work out? And that feedback or comment is privately shared with the other person. So it gives the clear closure. Oh, okay, it didn't work out because of ABC. So it gives that clear closure, and there's no ghosting because you will have to make decision yes or no instead of just leaving it in the air. So that's how Reev works.
So May, how does the first connection work?
So the first connection, there are two ways. It could be either done through a regularly scheduled speed dating events in app. It's actually happening tomorrow at 8 p.m., which I was going to talk about. So if you do get onto that session tomorrow at 8 p.m., you will have to set your preference, your basic profile, your age and your location and some other things. And then whoever you set as a preference, let's say I'm looking for a man who is aged, 30 to 40, and I live here and I want somebody who lives at least 10 kilometers, within 10 kilometers proximity, then it will find other users who fit that criteria. And then you'll be paired with that person randomly and then have that 5-minute conversation. So that's one way And the other way is there will be also voice profile. So it's like dating app profile with photos, but instead of photos, it'll be voice notes. So you will listen to their voice notes, and then if you think somebody is interesting, then you can also send the first day request. And that is not limited to that fixed regular time slot. You can do it at any time. You're free, both free.
Awesome. And so everyone who's on this webinar, do they get a free trial?
So that's on the next
Okay.
slide.
Let's see what's on the next slide.
So Reev is launching tomorrow, and we have the Android coming tomorrow, and Apple, we unfortunately have to wait a little bit. So I don't know.
It builds up the anticipation.
I don't know if you have an Android phone or iPhone, but if you do have an Android phone, do download the app and then create the profile. And at 8 o'clock, you can get on to speed dating event and meet maybe a couple of people and talk for 5 minutes. And maybe, who knows, that will lead to the first date on Valentine's this Saturday. You don't have to only talk to one person, I would say. You can talk to multiple people. We apply that third person or fourth person, that principle that we learn, and see who you want to actually move on with that physical date. So tomorrow, 8 o'clock, and you all have the 2 months premium access, but not at the moment. It will come a bit later, but I will make sure that you get that 2 months free. It's just that the features need to be unlocked. At the moment, it's not available, but once it's available, I'll make sure that you have that premium access. So yeah.
Saying they need to reply to the email with their phone number to get access. Yeah.
So after this session, we'll be sending out an email with some more details. Once you download the app, have a date tomorrow, and you can just tell me which mobile number, because we don't have your mobile details here. But if I can have your mobile detail, I can map out like your account or your user detail, so I can give you that premium access when it's available. So it's just gonna be a very simple, quick form. Yeah, so that's all we need.
Awesome. We will all jump on tomorrow at 8 p.m. if you are an Android user. Yeah. Also, if you want to practice these things in person, I have a dating event. It teaches you body language. It teaches you how to embody a lot of the concepts, because we say things like, be vulnerable, it's okay if you're awkward, but we actually don't know what it feels like to do it. And so in improv, we celebrate failure. We celebrate those moments where it's embarrassing, and we learn that it's actually okay. We build resilience towards it. So if you want to join my improv class, it is on Sundays. The next 2 dating ones are in February. Just scan the QR code and you're going to get 50% off. So we'll send you the link to do that. We're going to end this quickly with just the post-8 date questions, which is, how do you, after the date, these are great to ask, how does this person actually make me feel, so that I can decide if I want to see them again? So just quickly, what side of me, these are from Logan Yuri, by the way, so there's a lot of research behind this. So what side of me did they bring out? Was it like a fun, flirty version, or was it the worst side of me? How did my body feel during the dates? Which is a good indication to see how relaxed you are or nervous you are. How did I feel energized or drained? Is there something about them that makes me curious? Did they make me laugh, or even did they make you feel easy? Did I feel heard and understood? Number 7, did I feel attractive in their presence? Number 8, did I feel captivated, bored, or something in between? Again, these are questions just to find out how did they make you feel, or how did the connection make you feel? If it was like great, that you may not have felt sparks, because sometimes people are just charismatic, but they're just charismatic people, but it doesn't mean that they're attracted to you, right? It's like, how does this person make me feel, is going to help you decide, should you see them again? If the answers, most of these questions are like yes, then yeah, go on another date and explore that option. May, did you want to say, so team, type in the comments, what did you think of this webinar? Did you have any questions for us, or did you want to, we had so much content that we weren't able to unpack, so we might do this in a follow-up webinar. But yeah, type in the questions, was this useful, and what was your key takeaway? And I want to also just end by saying, people forget the things that you say, but they never forget the way that you make them feel. So that's a quote from Maya Angelou. And it happens with dating. It happens on whenever you have that initial connection. So remember that the most awkward version of yourself can sometimes just be the one that is most enlightening. Megano saying is useful. The right eye thing was interesting. Nilo saying great insights, Main Susan, really appreciate it. If you have any other questions, I like the idea of your app. It's awesome. And that is why I'm calling her Australian's Logan Yuri. Did you want to say anything else, May, to wrap this up?
That I'm Logan Yuri.
I know, just like in general. Yeah, it's just so modest as well.
All I can say is that if you do try, I'm pretty sure that you're going to have so much fun. I've already had the beta users on the app, all sharing like really positive experience, testimonial. Yeah, dating is you're not going to learn it through webinars or textbook or books. You only learn it by doing it, by practicing it. So, it's the same thing for improv. You just have to keep doing it. And it might be really nerve-wracking at first, but as you do more and more, you might be more confident. And that confidence is what we fall in love with.
Yeah. And especially if you want to practice that feeling of doing things and then feeling confident afterwards, that's what improv is all about. Vincent is saying lots of useful advice. Jonathan enjoyed the psychology between image and voice when it comes to deciding right and left, and Asai is saying great session, interesting insights, and see how they translate into the app. Awesome. It is getting late, guys, and we've gone way over time. Nala is saying, thanks once again. Need to drop off. Good evening, everyone. And yeah, thank you for all the wonderful feedback. Ruth, thanks for a great webinar. We hope that this was fun and great. Thank you so much for your participation. Damien is saying, I like that you refer to the studies and the literature. You guys are such an awesome gang. And yeah, if we will email you the slides and we'll stay in touch, and we will see you on Reev or at my improv class, wherever you are. I hope that you are being spontaneous in all your dating and your adventures. All right.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night. Thanks for the webinar. Looking forward to the app and good luck in the launch. Thanks, Vincent. Have a great night, everyone.